Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Today, we're going to be taking a look at a clip where a woman gets kicked off of a flight for fat-shaming a couple of obese passengers that are spilling into her seat. Apparently, them spilling into her seat is not the problem. It's the fat shaming. Oh my gosh. We're also going to be taking a look at a bonus clip where someone's talking about how illness causes obesity, not vice versa. If you're seeing me for the first time, hi, I'm the Cynical Dude. Please consider subscribing today because I upload 5 days a week, Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so there's always something to watch. If you would like to support the channel, please consider joining channel memberships today. There's a join button below as well as a join link in the description of this video. Before we proceed, please click the like button so that I may apply comb to mustache.
An airline passenger stuck in the middle seat resorts to fat-shaming her seatmates.
Oh my goodness, I don't know how I'm going to do this the next 4 hours.
It happened just before takeoff on a United Airlines flight from Las Vegas to Newark, New Jersey.
Oh, that's a long flight to be wedged in between two obese people.
Norma Rogers, an oncology nurse who once appeared on the Dr. Oz show for a nurse's appreciation episode, was seated next to the fat shamer.
Alright, so the woman who is spilling into the other woman's seat was previously on the Dr. Oz show.
The nurse's travel companion was in the
Okay, so yeah, you guys are on both sides of this woman and you're crushing her with your obesity.
aisle seat.
I'm stuck, but at least they'll keep you warm.
Oh, dude, hell no. Okay, and then they're getting an attitude with her, even though they're the ones crushing her.
Didn't end there.
I can't breathe, I'm so squished.
Why are they calling her fat shamer? She's being crushed by other people and the news is taking the side of the people doing the crushing. For some reason throughout this entire story, the news seems to be on the side of the obese people and they keep calling this woman a fat shamer and acting like she's the bad guy here.
Rogers flagged down a flight attendant.
Excuse me, can you find her another seat? Because I will not be verbally abused by...
You won't be verbally abused. Okay, well, you're physically abusing her because you're literally touching her. You and your husband or boyfriend or whatever.
by this or anybody else.
I can't sit here because it's both so big on left and right.
Yeah, I can see that.
I can't even sit here.
The flight attendant offered the fat shamer a new seat.
Offered the fat shamer a new seat. Why is the news taking the side of the obese people here? So from the perspective of the news station, we're supposed to let people just crush us and say nothing about it, right? Otherwise, you're fat shaming them.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, please. Because I can't sit like this.
As the woman gets up, she delivers one more insult.
I eat salad.
I eat salad. Yeah, that is one more insult that she delivered. You guys are right. Get that fat shamer out of here. It says fat shamer. I eat salad. Get her out of here. How dare you?
That did it.
Kiss my fat, okay?
Okay.
Other passengers were outraged.
Why don't you sit?
Somebody said you're disgusting, and then she said, why don't you sit between those two big pigs?
That passenger turns out to be Jonathan Fernandez, star of the VH1 reality show Love and Hip Hop New York.
Another person that's been on TV before happened to be on this flight. How about that? Okay, so one of the people that was spilling into that person's seat had been on TV before, the Dr. Oz show, and now we're seeing another passenger in the back complaining who's been on a different TV show. What are the odds? What?
After she got up, you said something to her.
Of course, I mean, at that point, I was appalled and I felt angry because
You're angry at her? For not just sitting there and taking it quietly. Okay. How would you feel if people were laying on you, dude? What are you talking about? If it was happening to you, you would also be upset. The strangest part about this story is that the news is trying to portray the obese people as the victim when they're the ones who were spilling onto somebody else. If you are encroaching on somebody else's space because you can't fit into your own seat, there is no point in which you are the victim.
like, you know what? There's so many ways of going about this, and I just hate that nobody was kind of saying anything, so I couldn't hold it, and I'm like, you're disgusting.
disgusting. You're disgusting.
Alright, and that clip ends abruptly with that dude saying that that chick was disgusting for not wanting a couple of strangers to lay on her inside of an airplane. Yeah, what is wrong with you, lady? I can't get over the angle that the news took on that, how they kept calling her a fat shamer and trying to paint her out to be the bad guy. What the heck? How dare that woman speak up? She should have sat there quietly and just taken it. She should have been like this. Oh my goodness. This is wonderful. How I can't breathe or move. I can feel my kidneys shutting down from pressure somehow. So that was completely insane. Now we're going to take a look at a bonus clip where somebody's claiming that illness causes obesity. Obesity does not cause illness.
10 Americans have a chronic illness. 4 out of every 10 have 2 or more chronic illnesses.
I just woke up and I'm currently sitting on the floor of my closet, but we need to talk about this.
Yeah, we do.
She's trying to conflate larger bodies with chronic illness. The thing that she's getting wrong, though, is you typically gain weight because you are ill and in pain and less mobile.
So it makes you eat a lot more calories?
Not the other way around.
No, actually, when you become obese, then you get all these illnesses. I don't know of any illness that makes you eat in excess of calories besides Prader-Willi syndrome. So, you don't gain weight because you're sick, you gain weight because you ate in excess of calories that you did not burn.
And particularly in women, she's trying to say that, oh, well, women were smaller back in the 80s. Women were less sick back in the 80s. What else was happening in the 80s?
Genocide?
There was significantly less access to healthcare for women, and women got the gaslit out of them.
Okay, so when there's less access to healthcare and women get gaslit, they are thinner and healthier. Okay, so you're saying that gaslighting and having no access to healthcare works. All right, that's a really weird angle that you're trying to take there. So we need to gaslight women and give them less access to healthcare? I mean, this is what you're saying.
In healthcare. It was always chalked up to being a nervous or an anxious woman or an attention-seeking woman.
What, if you were overweight or if you were thin?
And also, just medical science in general hadn't progressed as much.
So that's why people were thinner, because everything was not as good. So when medical science progresses and women get more access to healthcare and they stop getting gaslit, they become obese, which is their natural state, apparently. When you're being oppressed, you're thin. When you're free, you're fat. Well, if you're so pro-obesity, it's good to see that you practice what you preach.
So a lot of the illnesses that we're catching now, with like better imaging and better testing and just more knowledge overall, we're not getting caught in the 80s.
So people were thinner. Yeah, basically the argument that I'm getting from this person so far is things were crappier back in the 80s. That's why everybody was thin. When they have access to good health care and they're no longer being gaslit, they're obese.
And not just for women. For everybody in the 80s, that was true. Somebody would go to the doctor wouldn't have the tools that we have now, so maybe they would miss stuff.
And you would not be obese because of it. Okay.
Anytime you look at data, especially historical data, you have to look at other factors that were occurring at that time. If you want to compare the 50s or the 80s to now, what else is different when it comes to obesity? And obesity and the link between obesity and chronic illness.
I don't know. What else is different?
I'll give you a couple things to just pop into my head.
Go ahead.
There are significantly more food deserts now, so people are more and more relying on processed food and convenience foods because...
So eating processed and convenience foods lead to obesity, is what you're saying. A moment ago you said people were thin back in the day because they didn't have access to good health care, implying that good health care makes you obese. Now you're saying that processed foods are making people obese. Which is it?
There's no grocery store near them. People cannot afford fresh foods and healthier foods.
A moment ago, you also said that illness causes obesity. Now you're saying it's the foods. Which is it? Get your story straight.
Because their wages haven't caught up with inflation or their wages have sucked consistently.
Eating highly processed garbage food is not actually very cheap. It's addictive, so you end up eating a lot more of it in the long run.
And even if they can afford the nicer food, they just might not have the time and energy because we're caught in a capitalist hellscape.
Okay, so now it is the food. It's not the illness and it's not the medical system at all. It is the food now, and people are too poor to afford healthy food, and they don't have the time to cook it. The idea that you don't have access to healthy food or you don't have the time to cook it is just an excuse. Between video editing and other things that I do for YouTube, as well as all the time that I put in watching my 3-year-old, I work at least 12 hours a day, and I still make 3 meals a day for her, as well as a dinner here in this house. You know how long it takes to make a couple of eggs and a piece of toast? Not long at all. And then you have a banana with that. Boom, simple breakfast. Do you know how long it takes to make a tuna sandwich and have an orange with it? Not very long. Dinner takes about an hour. You put some vegetables into a pan, you put it in the oven, you wash some potatoes and you put them into the oven sitting on the rack as well. You heat up a pan and you cook some meat in it. If I have time to cook every single meal at home, given my extremely busy schedule, so do you and so does everybody else.
And so you're just going to eat what's the fastest and easiest because you're working all the time.
No, I work quite a few hours, like I said. And no, I don't just pick up whatever's quickest and easiest. I just buy ingredients at the store and then I make meals out of them at home. That's what grocery shopping means. It doesn't mean to buy a bunch of pre-made frozen garbage that you just reheat. You go buy some meat, some veg, and some carbs, and you cook it at home and you eat it. It's really not that hard. Unless my eyes deceive me, this person doesn't really seem to be obese, so I don't know why they're encouraging everyone else to be. So you want us all to become obese, do you? So you can have all the hot men for yourself? I'm on to you. Nice try, sister.
There was much more of a work-life balance in the 50s or in the 80s.
In the 50s, women had not yet entered the workforce, so they were staying home and taking care of the home and the children. It was only one person that was working, so yes, there was more of a work-life balance when one of the people actually gets to be home to take care of the house and stuff. With both parents working, there is less time for one of you to make dinner, but it's still doable. I do it.
Than there is now. People are just working all the time now.
Dude, like I said, half of the population was staying home in the 50s. You can't be serious right now.
They don't have a life at all. What was once a household where one of the parents stayed home and did all the cooking and all the grocery shopping and the other one went out to work is now both parents are working, probably working more than 40 hours a week, and nobody's got the time or energy to do everything from scratch anymore.
That's not true, dude. We're not talking about coming home and baking bread from scratch. You don't have to do that. You could just put some meat in the oven, a couple potatoes, and some broccoli, or whatever the case may be. It's very simple. The time that it takes you to get in your car and drive somewhere to pick up food, you could just take food from your refrigerator and or freezer, put it onto the stove and or in the oven, and cook it at home. It takes me about an hour to make dinner usually, maybe an hour and a half sometimes. You start everything at different times with the hopes of it all being finished at the same time so everything is warm when we're done. And what about all those other excuses for obesity that you had earlier? Now it is the food. It's the illness that caused the obesity. Oh, actually, there's no access to food. Actually, everybody lives in a food desert. Actually, there's no time. There's just one excuse after another to where each excuse trumps the previous excuse. You can't keep them all straight.
And let's get back to the chronic illness piece of this.
Please.
A lot of medical professionals like to blame weight for people's chronic illnesses when there's no link between them.
What? Dude, Google is your friend. Alright, a literal half-second search on Google told me that the risks of obesity are type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, sleep apnea, heart disease, liver disease, stroke, gallstones, cancer, and osteoarthritis. So you're saying that none of that stuff exists, doctor? Is this part of your medical dissertation right now, huh? Is that what this is?
How many times have we seen a doctor try and blame symptoms of cancer or symptoms of some other condition that is not at all related or mediated by a person's weight? The doctor will still try and blame it on their weight.
What, you mean things like type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, sleep apnea, heart disease, liver disease, stroke, gallstones, osteoarthritis? Doctors will try to blame that on the weight? What? It sounds like those doctors might have got some bunk information from a website such as this. What is this? CDC, Centers for Disease Control.gov? What? Hold on, let's see what they have to say. People who have overweight or obesity... People who have overweight Okie doke, compared to those with healthy weight, are at an increased risk for many serious diseases and health conditions. These include all causes of death, high blood pressure, high LDL cholesterol, low HDL cholesterol, or high levels of triglycerides, type 2 diabetes, coronary heart disease, stroke, gallbladder disease, osteoarthritis, sleep apnea and breathing problems, low quality of life, mental illness such as clinical depression, anxiety, and other mental disorders, as well as body pain and difficulty with physical functioning. Overweight is defined as a BMI of 25 or higher. Obesity is defined as a BMI of 30 or higher. Alright, so the CDC disagrees with everything that you just said.
And the person will lose weight, and guess what? They're still sick.
Well, if they had a condition that was not caused by the obesity, but it does exacerbate any conditions that you might have as well.
They still have the condition because it wasn't mediated by their body size.
What about all the people that feel a lot better once they lose the weight?
And for the record, I'm not saying that your body weight and size doesn't have any effect on your overall health. It can, depending on a multitude of factors.
Like what?
But trying to blame the body positivity movement for why people's bodies are larger or why their nutrition is not as good as like it once was back in the good old days is a bunch of bullshit.
Every individual has their own reasons for being the way that they are, but the body positivity movement is encouraging people to go off the rails and give in to their addictions and not work on themselves. By the way, I haven't seen the sun in many months because I live in rural PA and there's literally no sun here ever, so I apologize for how pasty I'm getting. The sun was out a little bit yesterday, but it was like 19 degrees out there, so it was hard to get out there and get in it, you know? I moved from Nevada, which is one of the sunniest states in the US, to this place that is literally one of the least sunny places in all of the US. The only part of Pennsylvania that gets any sun is like the southern eastern half, and I'm not by that at all. I'm right in the middle in Pennsyltucky. And we got no sun here, baby. None at all. It's driving me a little crazy. If I'm being real with you, I might be losing it. I don't know how these people do it, man. Is this why everybody's so completely insane around here?
We just went through a worldwide pandemic that's still not over, by the way. People are stressed, people are worked to the bone, and people...
Worked to the bone. Get your mind out of the gutter. Oh wait, that was me.
People are just trying to survive. We're all living in a constant state of fight or flight.
You are? Why? I'm not. Maybe you should speak for yourself, dude. I'm just kicking it. I hope she's just being hyperbolic. Why would you be in a constant state of fight or flight? Something might happen. Like, what? What are you doing? What are you so afraid of, bro?
We are all wondering, like, where the fuck our next paycheck is going to come from. Are we going to be able to have a roof over our head? Are we going to be able to afford groceries?
Yeah, a lot of that stuff is popping off right now. Times are very, very tough right now for a lot of people. And I hope that if things are going poorly for you, the viewer right now watching this, I hope it all turns around for you soon.
That does something to the human body. Sometimes when you're stressed, you might put on weight.
If you stress eat, sure. You don't put on weight because of stress. There are no calories in stress. Stress, donuts. You know, one of these things goes into our mouth repeatedly and causes us to put on weight.
And if you have all the other factors going on, like not having access to healthy food, not being able to afford healthy food, not having the time or energy to cook healthy food, guess what? You might gain weight.
Okay, so it wasn't the stress. It was the not cooking healthy food and not having time to cook the healthy food. If stress makes you gain weight, then that's because you're eating unhealthy food when you're stressed out. It is not the stress that is making you overweight. It is how you choose to respond to it. You cannot control what happens to you in life, but you can control how you react to it. You can't control what people say to you, but you can control how you react to it. And in that regard, you have absolute control.
And let's not forget, some people's bodies are just bigger. Their natural, like, neutral state is just a bigger body.
No.
So what? And just a general word of advice, talking about the 50s or the 80s as if they were like the good old days and we should go back to that time.
I'm not sure if the clip that she was responding to said all that or whatever. I'm guessing so. We only saw a very short part of it in the beginning.
Is a huge red flag.
Is it? But the 80s were dope, dude. What are you talking about? You ever seen the A-Team? How dare you speak ill of the 80s? I won't have this.
Because there was significantly less equity and equality for a lot of marginalized groups in those times.
But everybody was nice and thin. How about that?
And also, eating just were a thing back then. Why do you think all of the 1950s housewives were so small?
They all had Anna? That's weird. I don't believe that there was a prevalence of Anna back in the 50s. I would imagine that the prevalence of EDs came to be because of these women's magazines telling everybody that they need to look this certain way or be this thin.
It wasn't the food that they were eating. It was the food that they were not eating.
Alright, so she started off by saying that a lot of illnesses cause obesity, and then by the end she had a million other reasons why obesity was a thing, including the fact that nobody had access to healthy food or the time to cook it. Also, for some reason back in the 50s and 80s when they had less access to healthcare and this, that, and the other thing, the result was that everybody was thinner. Alright, so we need to take away everybody's access to healthcare, like I've been saying from the beginning. Sick of all these suckers getting a free ride. No, I'm just kidding, but obviously I disagree with all of the aforementioned. It is not difficult to go grocery shopping and then cook the food at home. Back in the day, a lot of people actually had gardens in their own backyard, so besides cooking the food yourself, you actually had to grow it and then go out there and pick it. How did they do it? You make the time for things in your life that are important. If health is important to you, and it should be, then you'll make the time to cook the meals at home. I see so many people out here with $1,000 iPhones or even $2,000 phones or whatever in their pocket, but they're eating whatever is the cheapest and easiest food. It's like your priorities are all out of whack. So what do you think of the previous clips? Let me know in a comment below. Happy Monday, everybody. Anyway, that about does it. Thanks for watching, commenting, liking, and subscribing. And I'll see you in the next one.